A big developing story today. State lawmakers passing a massive $53 billion budget around 4 a.m. this morning.
But this budget, it got no Republican support in either chamber of the General Assembly, but Democrats had enough votes to pass the biggest budget in state history.
Now, some of the big things that we need you to know about. The state will put money back in families' pockets with a child tax credit. But to pay for those credits and new programs, taxes gotta go up.
One industry that will be hit hard is sports gambling. Operators like DraftKings and FanDuel will see their revenue taxed another 20%. Though some of our local lawmakers say the money is going to good places like our education system.
When it comes to education, like I say, we're putting a bunch of money into pre-K, which studies show over and over, if you don't start the kids young, they're going to be behind when they get into kindergarten and first grade and so on.
The extra money should open up around 5,000 more seats in preschools across Illinois.
Republicans like Brad Fritz out of Lee County are outraged by the size of the budget as well as those tax increases. He said in part, quote, "This budget includes $1 billion in new taxes for Illinoisans. Raising taxes year after year when our tax burden is already one of the highest in the nation is unsustainable. This is one of the root causes of the mass exodus of families and businesses seeking economic prosperity elsewhere in our country," end quote. Another big thing at stake, was the state's grocery tax that lawmakers ended with this morning's vote.
And the issue is the state doesn't bring in money from this tax, putting big cities like Rockford in a budget bind.
Now, as I talk to city leaders, there's a chance that for most communities, this tax never actually goes away. Here's why.
Talking $8 million, that's 80 police officers. $8 million, 80 firefighters, $8 million, about 100 public works employees.
Cities like Rockford are scrambling to see how they're going to fill the hole left without the state's grocery tax. Several places around the state line could be hit hard. Roscoe says they'll lose $100,000, McChesney Park $250,000, Freeport more than $750,000, and Rockford, who you just heard, face an $8 million shortfall without this tax, which is especially frustrating for city leaders since the state doesn't lose a dime with this tax cut.
Mind you, they don't get a single dollar from that tax. So they're doing away from a revenue source of ours without a say from us.
State lawmakers like Dave Vella still support cutting the grocery tax. He says this gives cities the option to add their own grocery tax and cater it to best fit their own community.
Each individual municipality can put it in however they deem appropriate. So, for instance, if, let's say, you're in Rockford and you want to do a grocery tax, but only for people under a certain income or over a certain income.
Which means as we hit the middle of 2025, you'll probably see a lot of communities at least discuss starting their own 1% grocery tax.
Truthfully, I think what you're going to see cities across the entire state take a look at instituting that tax. Now, that tax will run through December 31st of 2025, so it's not going to impact us this budget cycle. Probably middle of next year, we'll begin discussing what we're going to be needing to do to fill that gap.
While McNamara and city leaders try to save people as much money as they can, they'll have to try and find a way to do that while not cutting the services people have come to count on. Now, you heard a key change in there. This tax was going to expire almost immediately after that vote, which would have left cities on the hook. Lawmakers, though, heard those concerns and made those changes. Brittany, that would have cost Rockford $4 million if they did not make that change.
Yeah, a lot of money at stake, and that grocery tax will end at the end of 2025, meaning there's time for city staff and leaders to discuss what they need to do to make ends meet.